Did you know that over 80% of podcasts fail within their first year? It's not because the hosts weren't passionate or knowledgeable, it's because they skipped one critical step: planning. What if I told you that just 60 minutes of strategic planning could make the difference between your podcast thriving for years or dying after episode 7? My name is Brian, and today I'm sharing the exact planning framework that has helped launch hundreds of successful podcasts. Stay until the end for the free planning template that will save you hours of headache and set your podcast up for success from day one. Welcome to Podcasting 101, where I'm breaking down everything you need to know about creating, launching, and growing a successful podcast. Today, we're focusing on podcast planning fundamentals, the blueprint that will make every other part of your podcast journey much easier. Whether you're just playing with the idea of starting a podcast or you've already started recording a few episodes, these planning strategies will help you build a strong foundation. Think of this as an architectural plan for your podcast. Without them, you might build something, but it probably won't stand the test of time. With them, you'll create something structured, purposeful, and designed to grow. Let's dive into the 4 essential elements of podcast planning: defining your purpose, identifying your audience, choosing the perfect name, and selecting your format. Let's start with defining your purpose. The first question isn't, what microphone should I buy or what topic should I cover? It's, why am I creating this podcast? Understanding your purpose establishes the fundamentals for every decision you'll make. First, knowledge sharing. Maybe you're passionate about a specific topic and want to share your expertise. This is perfect if you have a deep knowledge in areas like personal finance, history, or professional skills. Second, brand building. Many successful podcasts exist to establish the host as an authority in that industry. If you're a consultant, a coach, a business owner, this might be your primary purpose. 3, community building. Perhaps you want to create a space for like-minded individuals to connect. Many fan podcasts or niche interest shows serve this purpose. Number 4, creative expression. For some, podcasting is purely an artistic outlet for storytelling and entertainment. And finally, monetization. While making money shouldn't be your only goal starting out, it's perfectly valid to create a podcast with revenue in mind. Once you've identified your general purpose, you need to establish SMART goals. That's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. For example, instead of I want more listeners, a SMART goal would be I want to reach 1,000 downloads per episode within 6 months. Let me show you how to set both short and long-term goals. For the short term, 1 to 3 months, focus on launching with 5 episodes. Establish a consistent release schedule, setting a basic social media presence. For the medium-term goals, that 3 to 12 months, think about growing to a specific listener count, securing your first sponsorship, or collaborating with other industry experts. For long-term goals, consider building a community around your show, developing additional revenue streams, and expanding to live events. The key is writing these goals down and referring back to them whenever you need to make important decisions about your podcast. Now that you've thought about the purpose and goals of your show, let's identify your target audience. Here's a harsh truth: a podcast for everyone is actually a podcast for nobody. Identifying and deeply understanding your target audience is perhaps the single most important factor in creating a successful podcast. When you know exactly who you're talking to, you can tailor your content, tone, and marketing strategies to meet those specific needs. Let's create detailed audience personas together. Instead of targeting broad demographics, we want to create 2 to 3 detailed personas that represent your ideal listener. For each persona, you should define their demographics. That includes their age, gender, location, income level, education, occupation. Psychographics: their values, interests, lifestyles, attitudes, and personal traits. Their content consumption habits. When they're listening to your podcast, what devices are they using, and what other podcasts are they enjoying? Their pain points and challenges, specific problems they're facing that your podcast can help them solve, and goals and aspirations, what they're trying to achieve that aligns with your content. Let me give you an example for a business podcast. Meet career climber Chris. He's 32. He's a marketing manager at a mid-sized tech firm. He's earning $125,000 a year with an MBA degree, living in a major metropolitan area. He is ambitious and goal-oriented, values efficiency and actionable advice, listens to podcasts during his morning commute or at the gym, struggles with developing leadership skills needed for promotions. He wants to stay ahead of industry trends without spending hours reading. He is heavily involved on LinkedIn and Twitter, discovers podcasts typically through recommendations. With this detailed persona, I know exactly who I'm speaking to in every episode. I understand their problems, how they consume content, and what values they're seeking. Other ways you can develop these personas is surveying of your existing network, social media listening on relevant hashtags, competitive analysis on similar podcasts, informal conversations with potential listeners. Once you have your personas, use what I call the only test to identify their unique value proposition. Fill in the blank. My podcast is the only one that does blank. This helps clarify exactly what makes your show unique in a crowded marketplace. Remember, building a successful podcast doesn't require millions of listeners. It requires the right listeners. A small, highly engaged audience that perfectly matches your target persona is far more valuable than a large, indistinguishable audience. Now that you understand who's listening and you have your goals, let's pick the perfect name. Your podcast name is often the first thing potential listeners encounter, and it significantly impacts their decision to check out the show. The right name can attract your target audience, while the wrong name can confuse and repel them, no matter how good your content is. Your ideal podcast name should be memorable, communicate values, reflect your personality, discoverable, and future proof. Memorable should be easy for them to recall if it is recommended to them. Communicate your values. Hint what listeners will gain through listening to your show. A reflection of your personality. Convey the tone and style of your content through your name. Discoverable. Include relevant keywords for search optimization. And future proof. Allow for the evolution of your content over time. Let's look at 5 naming structures that work well. First, descriptive names. This clearly describes your content, like the Real Estate Investment Podcast. The pros are excellent searchability and instant recognition. The cons are that it may lack uniqueness and personality. Second, the host-centric name. Focus on you as the expert, like The Tim Ferriss Show. This builds your personal brand and allows for topic flexibility, but requires existing name recognition to be effective. 3, the benefit-oriented name that emphasizes listeners' outcomes, like how to make money online. This attracts audience seeking specific results that may sound promotional or limit potential scope. Number 4, create a metaphoric name using imagery, like Planet Money or Radio Lab. These are highly memorable and brandable, but may sacrifice discoverability without clear descriptors. Finally, compound name, which combines a creative element with a descriptor, like the Daily Stoic Pod. This balances creativity and clarity, but can become lengthy. Now let's talk about the actual naming process. I recommend a 3-phase approach. In the first phase, generate 50 potential names without judgment. Use words associated, rhyming, alliterations, and metaphors, including industry-specific terminology and benefit-focused phrasing. In the second phase, filter the names through strategic criteria. This includes SEO analysis, competitor audits, pronunciation tests, domain availability, social media username checks, and trademark searches. Finally, in the validation phase, test top contenders with your target audience. Conduct a poll, get feedback on first impressions, and test for memorability by asking people to recall the name later. Before finalizing your name, check these advanced considerations. Longevity. Will the name still work if my podcast evolves? International intention. Does it translate well into another language? Verbal identity. How does it sound when spoken in the introduction? Visual identity. How will it appear graphically in a logo? Take the time to develop a strategic, well-researched name will pay dividends through the podcast journey. Now that we've named your podcast, let's consider the format. The format for your podcast serves as a structural foundation, determining everything from episode length to production requirements. Choosing the right format is critical for creating a show that's sustainable for you to produce and enjoyable for your audience to consume. Let's explore the core format types. The solo show is host-driven content delivered directly to the audience. The pros include complete creative control, flexible recording schedule, and minimum coordination. The cons are that it requires a strong personal expertise and presenting skills that become monotonous. This format is best for thought leaders, teachers, and storytellers with deep subject matter knowledge. Co-hosted shows feature 2 or more regular hosts discussing topics together. The advantage includes natural conversation flow, sharing content burden, and built-in chemistry. The challenges involve scheduling difficulties, potential personality conflicts, and higher production costs. This works best for friends or colleagues with complementary expertise. The interview format is where the host interviews their guests on each episode. The benefit includes diverse content, networking opportunities, and shared promotional potential. The drawbacks are dependent on guest availability and the need for strong interviewing skills. This is ideal for networkers and those with access to interesting figures in the field. Next is panel discussion, including regular hosts with rotating panel members. These provide dynamic conversations and multiple perspectives, but bring challenges with coordination and potential crosstalk. This format works well for news analysts and debate-worthy topics. Next is narrative or documentary styles offer highly produced storytelling with multiple elements. They create an immersive listening experience, but require extensive production time and advanced editing skills. This format is best for investigative journalists and professional producers. Finally, a hybrid format combines elements of multiple formats, offers flexibility, but potentially creates an inconsistent listening experience. Consider this when choosing your format. Content sustainability. Which format best delivers your specific content? Production resources. What time, equipment, and skills do you have for realistically being able to produce your show? Host strengths. Where do your natural communication abilities shine? Audience preference. How does your target audience typically consume content? You'll also need to decide on technical format, like episode duration or release frequency. Here are some options when it comes to episode duration. Micro episodes, 1 to 10 minutes, perfect for daily tips or news updates. Short form, 10 to 20 minutes, ideal for focused learning or quick stories. Medium form, 20 to 40 minutes, great for in-depth discussion and interviews. Long form, 40 plus, best for deep dives and comprehensive interviews. Now let's address release frequency. Daily, works for news, market updates, and bite-sized content. Weekly, most common for interview and co-host formats. Bi-weekly is a good balance for high production shows. Monthly, suitable for highly produced documentary style content. Or seasonally, which I don't necessarily recommend. Before fully committing to a format, I recommend recording pilot episodes in different styles, creating examples for audience feedback, and mapping out a full season in each potential format to assess sustainability. The most successful podcasts find a sweet spot where format perfectly aligns with content, host capabilities, and audience needs. Don't be afraid to experiment initially. Once you find a format that works, consistency becomes key to building listener habits. Now that you understand the 4 fundamentals of podcast planning, finding your purpose, identifying your audience, choosing your name, and selecting your format, you're already ahead of 80% of new podcasters. But planning on your own can still be a challenge. That's why I've created the Podcast Planning Blueprint, a free downloadable template that walks you through each step we've covered today, plus additional exercises to refine your concept. Visit autozy.co, autozy.co/podcast blueprint to download it now. This template has helped hundreds of podcasters clarify their vision and create shows that connect with their target audience from episode 1. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like and subscribe button for the entire Podcasting 101 series. In our next video, we'll cover essential podcasting equipment and setup, everything you need to know to sound professional without breaking the bank. Remember, the success of your podcast begins long before you hit record. Take the time to plan thoroughly now. You'll build something that can grow and evolve for years to come. What podcast ideas are you planning to bring to life? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll personally respond with feedback on your concept. And remember, if you don't want to go it alone, reach out to me at atozy.co and we can produce your show for you. Until next time, I am Brian. I hope this was helpful. Can't wait to see what you guys create.